Yeah, I see myself on Restream. See myself on Twitch. Checking YouTube. It says I'm live. And there I am. Weird. When I first hit stream, it says it wouldn't connect. So I just hit stream again and without changing anything, and it worked. So, greetings. This is Jesse from Nintendo Dads with another Let's Play, Angels with Scaly Wings. Thanks for the publisher and PR firm for providing us with the code. This game did come out a little more than 2 weeks ago, and I'm just now finally getting around to playing it. I thought I had a page. I think I deleted the page. I closed it. Let me bring up the page and I'll do the quick description. Can you solve the mysteries of the world of dragons before it's too late? After the mystery of a mysterious portal, you are selected as one of the few humans to travel to the world of dragons. While you serve as an ambassador, you'll learn more about this strangely familiar place and discover that your human colleague knows more than he's letting on. It'll be up to you and the friends you make along the way. I just added that. It was not really part of it. It'll be up to you and the friends you make to uncover the conspiracy that threatens the newly discovered world. In the process, you may even find love. Features epic, mind-bending story with 175,000 words. Cumulative friendships, or maybe more, with dragons, including 5+ character routes. Make meaningful decisions that affect the story with more than 13 unique endings. Unlock exclusive images of the main cast, and solve crimes and uncover the secrets of the world of dragons. And since this sounds, this is a dating sim with dragons, I did check the ESRB rating, and it is T for teen, so we're not getting into anime waifu material here, I don't think. Let's find out. Forgot to open up my Restream chat. There. My phone's notifications on. Let me shut that off. You are an ambassador. The letters are falling down. Teleported to a strange land. Something's off with this place. Well, that would like a little bit of murder. Explore a town full of secrets. Going down. He's creepy. And the people who keep them. Oh, Dragon Tarot cards. All the characters. Is the game free? It is not free. It is normally $10, but on sale for $8 on the eShop. Okay. Oh, D-pad works for options for once. That's kind of a rarity lately. Options. Audio. I don't think that did anything. Text. Okay, that looks good. No problem. Thanks for watching, EDH. Start. Detecting user profile. User profile not found. Enter your name. Choose a color. No purple, huh? Oh, show more colors. Okay, we got the middles. Okay, here's a purple. I'll go purple. I like purple. User profile confirmed. Before we start, please review the following information. Controls. Use A to advance text and select menu options. Plus brings up the menu. Press L to review past messages and rewind. Press R to toggle skipping. Minus hides the text window. If you wish to view this information again, you can do so from the main menu. That will be all. The year is 20XDX. Only recently has humanity discovered a portal that leads to a different world, populated with a race of intelligent talking dragons. I was one of the few to travel to this world, but maybe I should start at the beginning. Let me know if the volume's too loud. I can turn it down. It's not bothering me yet, but it might. It all began when we discovered a strange device in the middle of nowhere during one of our expeditions, a portal. That came out of nowhere? That thing's huge. I had heard about similar technology before, though that had been more on an experimental level. From what I knew, other portals had been created in the past and were under construction for mass application. As for this one in particular, though, we did not know who had built it, or when, or why we found it in the wilderness where we did. What was more exciting to us was the fact that it was functional. After our first tests, we found that there was someone else on the other side who was in possession of a similar portal, and our attempts at communication through letters were successful. But in the end, the machinery's extraordinary demand for power meant we need to act quickly, as we wouldn't be able to keep the portal open much longer. When we made this known to the other side, we received a very unexpected reply, a letter of invitation. After some deliberation, it was decided to accept their hospitality and send a person to the other side. There was an individual who took the job almost immediately. Reza Inquierdo I don't know. I knew him, or rather had known him. We attended the same school back then and even had a few classes together. We never really were very close, but we talked to each other occasionally and hung around with the same crowd sometimes. However, we still went our separate ways in the end. I wasn't sure what to think about the whole thing, but he had to have known that what he was doing. He certainly was brave. Either that or just very, very foolish. While I wasn't sure which, his courage was applauded by others. After all, he couldn't have possibly known who or what would await him on the other end of the portal, and if he did meet someone who knew what kinds of inventions they may have. Not that any speculation on our part would have made a difference. When the day finally came, through he went, with applause echoing through the area, equipped only with the clothes he wore, his multi-tool, a gun, and a device on his wrist that acted as a PDA. Then we waited. The crowd that was applauding him slowly dispersed when enthusiasm died down, as there was nothing for us to do but wait and speculate. Approximately 8 hours later, we received our first message from him. While we had assumed the portal led to another in a different country, or maybe on a different continent, the reality turned out to be much more foreign. The situation he described to us was outlandish. That we initially took it as a joke. A very bad joke, maybe, but even worse timing with no punchline at all. It soon became clear to us, though, that we may have just made one of the most important discoveries since the dawn of mankind, finding a portal that has been remarkable in itself, but this took it to a completely different level. From what he had described about the place, or more accurately, its inhabitants, we surmised it could not be part of Earth at all. We called them dragons, because according to Reza, that's what they were, or at least that's what they resembled most. Even though we found it hard to believe, it had been those dragons who sent us all of the letters. And what Reza found on the other side of the portal was a whole civilization of them. They could talk, write books, had buildings, and electricity. In many ways, their society was actually very similar to our own. So who were they? And where was this place? Could they be aliens? Our speculation led us to conclude otherwise. After all, we knew about the existence of thousands of planets, millions of light years away, that might have theoretically been habitable. Yet even then, we had never found conclusive proof in regards to actual alien life forms. Some people brought up quantum mechanics and parallel universes, but in the end of all this was just conjecture and an ultimately fruitless endeavor, since we neither had the means nor the resources to explore these possibilities in greater detail. I think there's just one more thing worth mentioning before I move on. The previous isolation had been mutual. They hadn't known about any other intelligent life forms beyond their own. Their portal had only recently been discovered and was a technology previously unknown to them. And just as we had myths about dragons, they had myths about us. That's what we knew about them so far. And as interesting as learning those things and debating their cultural significance was, we didn't really know what we should make of it all. Riza apparently was sure of what he was doing, though as he eventually let us know that he had agreed on a trade. We were to give them a few of our PDA devices, which contained vast amounts of knowledge, dwarfing even that of encyclopedias. In return, they would supply us with generators. Overall, they didn't seem as technologically advanced as we had been, but they did surpass us in one aspect. The means of generating energy seemed sustainable. Not only that, but evidently also quite efficient. We certainly would be able to put technology like that to good use, and trading mere past knowledge of the human race for something more tangible was a good call on his part. That was where I came in. My prior experience in both biology and sociology made me a good fit to deliver our PDA devices for the trade. And while in the Dragon's world, waiting for the prototypes of our generators to be manufactured by them, I would act as an ambassador on humanity's behalf. What a way to make a first impression by a display of mutual goodwill. Everyone benefits and everyone goes home happy. All is well. At least that was the plan. Despite the images that living, talking dragons might conjure up in some people's minds, I didn't even think of bringing a weapon myself, considering that they were purportedly friendly and peaceful enough. There was no need for me to fear potential ill intentions like Riza did when he had stepped into unknown territory and acting as humanity's ambassador. I had to do my best to uphold a high standard of fostering this diplomatic relationship. When the time came for me to step through the portal, all my mental preparedness vanished. My anxiousness was fueled by all the questions lurking in my head, just as the machine started to do its work. Would it hurt? Who would I meet on the other side? What if they really weren't so friendly and just made Riza write those letters with the pretense of appearing friendly, only to lure us into the den of man-eating monsters and certain doom, with us ending up as nothing more than a tasty afternoon snack? How much FPS does this game run? I don't know. I'm streaming 60 FPS, and this is it's a dating sim. Does it really matter? And good evening, K9. Thanks for watching. Maybe I should have brought a weapon after all. Suddenly, after a shiver coursing throughout my whole body and beyond, when I disintegrated, as if every cell of every atom of my body was torn from me and pulled into a different direction. I saw darkness and light. Well, that's a good thing. Painting patterns in the stars as I traveled, and images rapidly flashed before me of things unseen and unspoken. Both horrifying and beautiful. It was like an experience unlike any other, yet over in just a split second. Then it was dark. I could only see a patch of lighter color contrasting with its dark surroundings as my vision started to clear. Its edges got sharper as the patch of light slowly took shape, giving me the distinguished outline of a reptilian head and an array of horns spouting from it. Dragons wear ties, apparently. It was a dragon, and I could now see a dragon who not only had a pair of round glasses, but also wore a burgundy tie around his neck. So, I'm not the only one that the first thing they noticed is a tie. In the name of our people, I bid you welcome. If I may introduce myself, I am Remy, your guide and ambassador, or representative of our council. The dragon spoke. It was the one thing to have heard and read about this, but something else entirely to have one standing in front of me in flesh and blood, and tongue. It was good that all my mental preparedness had disappeared when I was teleported, because nothing could have prepared me for this. Sorry, I imagine you might still feel the effects of the teleportation. Drowsiness or weakness is not unusual, as is fainting and spontaneous emptying of your bowels, bladder, or stomach. How do you feel? That's pleasant. Rendered speechless, I had totally forgotten that I was shouldering the burden of representing my people to them as well. So much for being professional, but at least he did give me a good excuse for my blunder. I think I'm all right. I'm glad to hear it. Maybe we should go before it gets too dark. Come with me, please. So I followed the dragon, not straying too far from him, as the sun had already departed for the day, and the remaining light diminished by the minute. It's getting hard to see where I'm going. Sorry about that, but we had good reason to schedule your arrival like this. We did not want to be ambushed by a crowd, so we had to keep your exact time and date of arrival secret. Thanks. I suppose an event like this would have made me a celebrity of sorts. It would be the same as if one of yours came to us. That's quite an understatement. Some people here are rather superstitious. They might regard you or any of your kind as divine, I suppose. Really? How so? We do have certain myths that involve humans as such. Oh, I suppose the history lessons will have to wait for another time. Here we are. By this point, it had gotten so dark I could barely make out the building before us. I briefly wondered whether they might have streetlights elsewhere, or if they just did not require any due to the possible enhanced eyesight or night vision. That was my thought. I'm like, they're dragons. They probably can see in the dark quite well. I could vaguely see the dragon, but his light colors still visible within the blackness that engulfed the area. Rear up and manipulate the door handle with one of its forepaws. Squeaky door. Hinges creaked, the door opened with a flick of a switch. The apartment was flooded with light, blinding me after all this time we had spent without it. This is where you will live for the time being. It's fully stocked, but in case you need anything else, I left you a note with a few phone numbers. It's getting rather late, so I'll have to take my leave now. In any case, someone will come and meet you tomorrow morning. Thank you, Remy. Have a good night. Until we meet again. With a nod, Remy left the apartment, mindful enough to close the door behind himself. Surveying the room, I considered the events that had just transpired as my gaze met the window. I could see movement outside. As I drew nearer, startled, I could hear footsteps in the grass, moving away quickly. Assuming it must have been the dragon I just met, I thought nothing of it as I went to bed and slowly succumbed to the sweet allure of sleep overdue. I spent a few moments thinking about my role, my mission, and what it meant to be here now. I felt the responsibility placed on my shoulders. I was eager for the adventure to come. Oh, this is an option. Eager. So many possibilities and prospects raced through my mind. Truth be told, the thought of being able to meet an entirely new species and civilization excited me, as I was going to be one of the first to truly experience their society with its own little quirks, differences, and similarities. I couldn't help but feel like some sort of modern Vasco da Gama or Marco Polo. Maybe I would even write a book about the whole experience after it's all over. I was sure it would become a hit of all things considered. At any rate, this was going to be fun. Chapter 1. 20-minute prologue? That's decent. Of course, it would have been faster if I wasn't reading everything out loud. I awoke from uneasy dreams looking at an unfamiliar ceiling. Every time I hear unfamiliar ceiling, I think of Evangelion, because that's... Don't know how often that term is used, but that's where I know it the most. Just for a moment, I wondered where I was before the events of last night all came back to me. After a good stretch, I looked around the room, illuminated by the sunlight coming in from the window. Outside at the distance, the portal I had emerged from proudly stood on the peak of a small hill. Getting ready, I noticed something lying on the table. It was a note Remy had left for me in case I needed anything. Along with his own home, phone, and work number, there were additional numbers for delivery of food and other necessities, as well as emergency and even janitorial services. He had certainly thought of everything, even though I now had to wonder what a dragon plumber might look like. My musings were interrupted when the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, I was met by another dragon. What is he, like police dragon? Kind of. Hello, you must be Laffer. I'm Sebastian. I'll be your escort, or security, I suppose. Usually I work for the police, though. Nice to meet you. He seemed a lot smaller than Remy, and when he somewhat nervously extended his arms toward me, I noticed he apparently only walked on hind legs, the two forelimbs instead having distinct arms, hands, and fingers. Kiss his hand. Let's just shake it. When I took his hand into mine to shake it gently, I could feel the individual bumps and scales on his rough skin. Nice to meet you too, Sebastian. So where are you taking me? Straight to business, eh? We're going to visit the plant where they are making your generators. They have some news for you, or so I've heard. Riza will be there too. Sounds great. Just follow me. While we walked, I was under the impression we were purposely avoiding the busier parts of town, instead straying towards the edges and small alleys as to not garner too much attention. Even then, we got the occasional stare. After a couple of minutes, we arrived at our destination where we were met by Riza, as well as yet another dragon, a vicious-looking beast that I didn't stay too close to him. Hey, Riza, long time no see. How true is that? Finally good to see another human face around here. What a coincidence to have you of all people show up. Yeah, I guess those degrees aren't so useful after all. By the way, who's your friend? Just my bodyguard, same as yours. Don't bother with him, he doesn't talk much. Just like you. Very funny. The two dragons exchanged a few words as I met the gaze of the larger, tenebrious dragon. A few paces from us, Sebastian turned towards me and spoke up again. Hey, Laffer, this is Maverick. Nice to meet you. Yeah, whatever. Just don't expect me to give you any special treatment like everyone else is, and we'll be good. What are you talking about? So you're saying you haven't noticed the stairs and how they all treat you like you're the next Messiah or something? No, I just thought. We're not the ones making a big deal out of this. You are. We're just here to get what we agreed on, and then we'll be gone. If anything, I'd prefer if you left us alone, but you're the one who insists on following me around everywhere I go. A growl escaped the darker dragon's trembling lips as he bared his teeth at Riza. Alright, that's quite enough. Let's all just go inside already, shall we? After you. The crisis was quickly averted as we entered the building, which was characterized by its many floors, high ceilings, and long narrow hallways as Sebastian led us to our destination. There you are. I was waiting for you. Wait a minute. I thought we were going to meet the guys from production. What are you doing here? They're only coming in later today, so you'll have to make do with me. I see. Well, after this is Anna. She kind of manages this building, though actually she's more involved with the research wing rather than production and engineering. Nice to meet you. My pleasure. I have something for you, by the way. It'll take them a while to make all the generators we promised, but we've got one for you here. Feel free to send it home and give it a test. That's great. We'll take it. Looks a little small, if you ask me. Don't underestimate its power. Oh, and do be careful not to drop it. Sure, I'll be waiting outside while you do your thing, Laffer. I suppose I'll wait for you outside as well. What thing? Oh, have you brought the PDA? Of course, here you go. Alright, now to give this thing a test run. The PDA lit up as her hand swiftly moved around its interface in calculated motions. By the way, would you consider letting me run some tests on you as well? It would only take a drop of your blood. What? Why? I work in biology, so obviously this kind of thing would be very interesting to us. I'd share the results with you, of course. Sure, why not? She was quick to produce a small device from a drawer, which from a glance reminded me a lot of a test tube. Now if you'd give me your hand, please. I reached out to her, she took my hand to hers. Before she pressed the device into the back of my hand, I winced as pain jolted through my hand. Something sharp drove itself into my skin, and shortly after, a drop of little blood was sucked into the tube, attached to the small needle. Thanks. You're welcome? You gave Anna your blood. Looks like your PDA is good, by the way, so we're just about done here. And since we're both in biology, it could be interesting if you want to meet some other time as well. Here's my number. Alright. See you soon. Well, that was interesting. Did she ask for your blood too? Yeah. Did you give it to her? Yeah. Oh well, it's your choice. I've got no idea what they might do with it, though. I'm getting hungry. How about some breakfast? I'm all for it. I can't stand early mornings like this. That shouldn't be a problem. There's a cafe not far from here. What do you say, Mavers? I wouldn't mind to grab me a bite myself. That settles it then. Luckily for us, the cafe was mostly empty when we arrived, as it was still pretty early in the day. Reza was quick to lead me to a table or two, prompting the dragons to get one of their own on the other side of the restaurant. Yeah, finally. I can't stand that guy being at my tail the whole time. They say it's for our own security. I'm very much aware that's what they're saying. We were approached by an individual who appeared to be like the waitress of the cafe. She was an interesting looking dragon who, unlike the others I had seen so far, was more akin to a wyvern, possessing two rather large wings as her forelimbs, which resembled those of an oversized bat. Oh, it's the humans! Oh, it's a dragon! He doesn't appreciate the smartass. I appreciate the smartass. That's a good one. Welcome to our establishment. My name's Adine, and I'll be your waitress today. What can I bring you to? Today's special. Yeah, me too, miss. Make it quick. Sure thing. 2 specials coming right up. As I was saying, if you look at the big picture, don't you think there's just something off about this whole place? Where is it really? And this is supposed to be a completely separate place from Earth, or even a different dimension. Some things just don't add up. Don't you think so too? Let me grab my tinfoil hat real quick. I've been here much longer than you have been. Maybe you'll see soon enough. I can't really say much more with you-know-who over there. He's probably listening to us right now. Yeah, he's a charming fellow. When I let my gaze wander, I saw that Maverick was looking my direction. Our eyes met briefly, his expression not showing any discernible emotion. All wondered whether it had just been coincidence or if he really was able to hear us from a distance. I do have some theories, and if I'm right, we might be in trouble. What kind of trouble? What are you talking about? Shh, be quiet. I'll let you know more as soon as I can. For now, let's just play along. After all, we already have one of those babies. He patted on the generator's box for emphasis. God knows we need him. Well, there she comes. The female returned, astounding me with her ability to balance the dishes on the edges of her wing. She placed the forelimb on the table and produced to move the dishes from her wing to us in a gentle push of her snout. Here you go. Watch out, it's hot. Thanks. You're welcome. Apparently today's special consisted of an odd-looking fish of some sort. It was a little hesitant to try it, but considering the steam coming from it, it was probably better to wait a few minutes anyway. When the waitress brought out meals to the two dragons across the cafe and exchanged a few words with them, Riza leaned forward and whispered something to me. I'll send you a letter with a coded message later. You'll know what to do. Riza rose from his seat before he made it known to me that he still had a few things to do in the restaurant, followed shortly after the larger of the two dragons. But you haven't even touched your fish. I wasn't in a hurry, so I spent a few more minutes in contemplation while I looked out the window. Not that this whole situation was already bizarre enough, there was also now the vague sense of danger conveyed by Reese's earlier words. I did not even have an idea of what kind of threat might be lurking out there. Eventually, I took a bite of my somewhat unusual breakfast. While I already thought the smell was quite peculiar, the taste had been even worse. I imagined it might be the kind of delicacy that had an acquired taste, ones that I certainly hadn't acquired yet. But I decided to get outside before it was too late. Are you done? Sure am. How do you like it? I'll just say it's probably not for me. And you wouldn't be the first one to say that. You better wait outside just in case it decides to come up again. You tried the odd-looking fish. Sure thing. I stepped outside, taking in the scenery of his strangely familiar world. In the short time I was here, I'd already found the similarities between their world and ours utterly fascinating. After all, we were talking about an unmapped place with a never-before-seen form of life. As far as discoveries were concerned, even something as simple as a new unicellular organism or even a bacteria would have been remarkable. Yet here I was, standing in the middle of a village evidently built by this race of intelligent talking dragons, with a society not unlike our own. Riza didn't seem to share the same interest and instead was more smitten with the generator, but given our reasons for coming here in the first place, I couldn't blame him for his enthusiasm, being focused on something else. My thoughts were interrupted as something suddenly zipped past me just a little too close, causing me to stumble back. It was a rather small dragon with a bag clamped to his maw, who apparently had somewhere to be. I regained my footing and watched as it disappeared into the distance, even though I'd seen enough dragons to recognize their variations in size, color, and other attributes. I guess this one must have been a juvenile of its species. Shortly afterwards, Sebastian joined me outside, taking care of the tab. I gave her a generous tip on your behalf. I hope you don't mind. How nice of you. Yeah, I like being a smartass, but I don't want to be the jerk. There's a difference. There's a line. In any case, now that you've given us PDA and Riza has a generator, you're free for today. So if you want to go anywhere in particular, let me know, or I can show you around town. I was tempted to be given a tour, but considering Riza's words, I wanted to be careful and not stray too far without knowing more about this world first. I think I'll stay home for today. I'll still have to get used to everything, you know? I'll just accompany you back then. There we are. Home sweet home. For now, at least. Well, if you need anything, I'll be outside until my shift ends. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. See you tomorrow. See ya. What kind of dating sim is this? Apparently a dragon dating sim. This is still, early into the game, only about 30 minutes in. I'm presuming still near the beginning of Chapter 1. I haven't really made any decisions of note yet. So far it's just been like a visual novel. I hadn't really looked at the apartment much, so I spent the rest of the day investigating it and relaxing. I considered checking out some of the phone numbers Remy had left me, but I thought it was better to keep a low profile for now. I found the kitchen fully stocked with plenty of groceries, though the variety was wasted on me. I hadn't been a particularly great cook in the first place, but what was more, I didn't even recognize some of the things I found there. Whether they were edibles that we had back home that I just didn't know about, or something completely alien, I wasn't sure. But I didn't want to take the risk of eating something I didn't know. After all, it's possible that some of the consumables might be fine for them to eat, but still be poisonous to us. I was also glad to find a shelf that was filled to the brim with a variety of books. While I found the subject matter of man, myth, or reality to be quite intriguing, I had to give up after a few pages due to its exceptionally dry writing style, which I wasn't inclined to enjoy at the moment. In the end, I settled for an adventure novel about a dragon archaeologist who stumbles upon the remains of a long-lost human civilization, after which she is hunted by an evil organization who wants to use the found magic artifacts for its own nefarious purposes. While entertaining, I had to admit that it reminded me a little too much of the trashy novels we had at home. I certainly found it amusing as certain tropes were not really unique to us as a species, so I wondered whether this kind of literature had fallen into disfavor here as it had back where I came from. I was reading a particularly exciting scene in which the hero, Sheridan, uses one of the magical artifacts shaped like a pair of human hands holding a scepter with a globe at the top to prevent herself from being crushed and ground into a bloody pulp by an ancient human temple's moving walls, when I suddenly heard the doorbell ring. Hello there, would you sign here? Please sign here. I'm not signing away my rights with this, am I? I've got a letter for you that requires signature confirmation. I see. Looking over the clipboard a small dragon was holding up to me, I saw that the sender of the letter in question was Riza. There you go. I'm Lauren, by the way. Would you mind if I asked you a few questions? What's this about? I'm just making small talk. Wait a minute, I recognize you. You tried to do the same thing with Riza. Maybe I should report you to your superiors for your inappropriate behavior towards your clients. What is important? Please, just let me talk to Laffer for a few minutes. You know how it is. If you want an interview with one of the humans, you'll have to get permission from the proper authorities. Help me out here, Laffer. As an ambassador, you care about the accurate portrayal of humans in the media, don't you? You should talk to me, otherwise someone else will fill in the blanks and who knows what they'll come up with. Let me show you something. The small dragon opened his bag, rummaging through a number of letters and small packages. Huh, I think I lost it. Anyway, I wanted to show you some pictures of what people think humans look like. Some of them, they have like 4 heads and look nothing like you. It's crazy. What are you, Laura? I'm a reporter? No, I'm just... You want me to remove him, Laffer? Is what he's saying true? Yeah, I guess. I see. That sounds pretty interesting, though. Alright, you can leave your number here and maybe I'll call you. But that's all I can promise. Thank you. Thank you so much. He quickly produced a small sheet of paper and scribbled his numbers on it. Afterwards, he sheepishly presented it with both hands. I imagine it's kind of like the Japanese form of, like, that. Alright, you got what you wanted. Off you go now. Yeesh. Sorry about that. Don't worry about it. I guess that should be all. I'll see you tomorrow then. Right. The soundtrack is starting to drown me out. I can lower the volume a bit. Is that better? I'm probably also talking quieter as the more I talk as well, which isn't helping things. With all the commotion, I almost forgot that I was also holding Riza's letter. Within the plain envelope was a similarly plain sheet of paper with his handwriting. When I started reading, however, I saw that his wording was so full of pleasantries I knew he hated that I assumed every word of it was faked as to conceal its true intent. He did mention I'd know what to do, but I was unsure of how I was supposed to decode his letter's secret message. I didn't remember ever having a conversation about this topic with him, Yet he relied on me to remember whatever it was that I was missing, or he thought I would just be able to figure it out on my own. This is what it said. Hello, my dear friend. I hope this letter reaches you softly and in good condition. Unfortunately, we were not able to catch up earlier, so I wanted to write you this letter. How have you been these last few years? What have you been doing? How's the family? I feel like there's so much we should talk about since we have not seen each other much recently. At least we have a chance to do so in this form. Quite an exciting venture we are on now, right? How have you liked it here so far? Made any dragon friends yet? Haha. Anyway, I'll be looking forward to your reply soon. Best regards, Riza. Various things came to mind. Only reading certain words or letters was one of the I thought of immediately, but I couldn't make anything out, trying to find a system within its array of letters and lines. Maybe I had to look more carefully. Let's read between the lines. Lines, of course. Maybe I was supposed to read between them. I didn't have an implement on me which I would have been able to read fine print, though with his handwritten letter, I doubt Riza could have done anything of the sort. Look for hints elsewhere. Or maybe he referred to the fact we were both given an apartment, considering the things they provided for us. Maybe I just had to find the right object to decode the message. There were many everyday items here, though, and of course still had no idea what in particular I was looking for. Look at the bookshelf. The bookshelf was stocked with a variety of books and on different topics. Look behind the books. Maybe Riza left me another message here at some point. He could have known that I was going to live here, so I suppose it's possible that he helped me with preparations and hid something for me to find. Nope. Even after removing every book from the shelf, there's still no indicator of anything that would help me decode his message. But if Riza did leave a hint, this could have been anywhere in the apartment and not just in the bookshelf. Look at an individual book. Maybe it has something to do with the books. The shelf is full of them, but I suppose the hint could be inside one of them. Which book should I look into? Wow. Yeah, this is kind of not fun. Assault of the Humanoids from Outer Space. Mark 1. It was a dark and stormy night. Relentlessly pouring was the rain outside, periodically interrupted by the loud echo of thunder again and again. So quick was this roaring staccato become that it almost seemed like someone was pounding against the door. No, someone was really pounding on the door right now. The door swiftly opened, and the moment for which the house's owner had waited decades was finally here. Not on the field of battle do you meet me, human scum, but in the comforts of my own home do you seek to assassinate me? Feel my wrath. May it lead you to a slow and painful death, he screamed at the top of his lungs. Your resistance will only temper my blade, inferior creature. Taste my blade and die from it. The reply wryly came from the human's invader standing within the doorframe. Hero quickly stabbed him with his Magipen, a lethal hit which caused the human invader to slump to the ground instantly, his last words being, "Damn you, Hero, this is not over yet," while he melded into a red blotch, blotching up Hero's garment. Hero looked up into the sky and realized all the thunder and rain had been the UFOs of the invaders, numerous enough to rival the raindrops falling from the sky. This was the movement. He knew it was too late. This meant war. Really? An invasion by human aliens? Is that what they think we're like? Draconic desire. I don't think I want to read this out loud for a minute. I need a break, so I'll just give me a few minutes here. Let this mess ever hit the print. Sheesh. the Ixomen sphere and how to use it. As a manual meant for the general populace, this booklet intends to bring you, the valued reader, closer to the uses and joys of an Ixomen sphere might bring. I have taken utmost care to use simple language and instructions to remove the well-known barrier between individuals and knowledge of proper use of the most wondrous device. For interested parties, a chapter about the Ixomen sphere's history and ideas for advanced applications can be found later in the book. Quick Start Guide. Step 1. Place your Ixomen sphere on a flat, stable surface. Make sure that the surface is indeed flat and stable. Expert tip. Use a spirit level in order to determine if a surface is absolutely horizontal in order to prevent the Ixomen sphere from rolling off the table unintendedly. Step 2. Plug your Ixomen sphere into any fitting household outlet. Warning. Make sure the Ixomen sphere power switch is in the off position prior to plugging it in. Step 3. Locate the power switch of the Ixomen sphere. This step may introduce some difficulties as many different models of Ixomen spheres exist, with varying methods of turning them on and off. When in doubt, please contact your Ixomen sphere's manufacturer to help with this step if necessary. This is a weird book. Now I know how to work an Ixomen sphere, whatever that is. Born to Serve. Chapter 1, Rise from the Ashes. From the day I was born, I knew I was destined for greatness. As a member of the Avadian household, nothing else was expected from me. My father, Avdon the Sixth, made sure of that. My mother, however, was a worm, not literally, mind you. She was not some sort of annelid squirming beneath the earth and living in filth. No, she was just what I would describe as the lowest form of life. What? Not concerning herself with the matters of any importance, she instead sought to base her existence on superficialities. Not that it matters much, as I care to hate them both equally. For those who may want to critique me now for saying this, I have no doubt of my father's political achievements, yet only those who had to live with him know that these successes came at the very price of his soul. An empty shell of a dragon driven by nothing but performance as a politician, not as a father. Politician, huh? I wonder what their actual government is like. Price and Prayer. Preface. In the 1422nd year since our ascent into sentience, a most extraordinarily chain of events led to the most extraordinary of circumstances in our political and society. In our politics and society. These events have been buried in history until I stumbled upon these records of these tumultuous times. I have taken it upon myself to dramatize the events in a manner that is both accurate to history as well as entertaining to any reader who might have interest in such stories. It is not just for my own personal gain, as I hope to make this story available to a larger audience than just a few people who have permission to visit archives. I believe the wisdom to be gained from the ensuing tale to be more relevant to us now than ever. You read a bunch of books. Go back. Kitchen? Look in the pantry. Just some fruits and veggies here. If I put it on the floor and then step on it, what'll happen? I'd be going on a date. But no, there's no hint here. What do I know about figs? Quite a bit, actually. Figs are ripe with history and still enjoy some cultural significance, especially in religious circles. For example, they are the leaves in which Adam and Eve covered themselves up in the Bible's book of Genesis. It also happens to be the kind of tree Buddha achieved enlightenment under. Not only that, but it's also mentioned in Greek mythology. Isn't that fascinating? But wait, there's more. The influence of figs also extends towards words, phrases, and sayings we still use today. Take the word sycophant. For example, it comes from a Greek expression meaning someone who shows the fig, which is a vulgar gesture at the time. I don't give a fig, which of course is a figure of speech. Ha! Might as well be said that the influence of figs is as far-reaching as its fruit is succulent, figuratively speaking, that is. I'm afraid nothing of this actually helps with Reese's letter, though. There are two of them. What a nice pair. Wow. So Daddy finds his kid crying and asks, "What's wrong, kid?" But through all the tears, the kid couldn't get a single word out. Eventually the daddy had enough, so he said, "Stop, why?" "No, I won't say it. It wasn't a good joke anyway." You learned a lot about fruit. Lemons, 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 of course. Why didn't I realize it sooner? Lemon juice is about the simplest way to write a hidden message using household items. We learned about that in chemistry. The most boring detail, of course. A message written in lemon juice on paper becomes just as about invisible to the naked eye when dried. But after heating it gently, oxidation occurs, making the message visible. I was sitting next to him in class when we learned that. He made a joke about using this method to cheat on the next test. I replied by saying he'd have to bring an iron. He really hadn't expected me to remember a random chemistry class that happened years ago, but then I did remember it after all. "Meet me at the portal, tonight at 10 p.m. was all the message said. I wasted a good amount of time, but I still had some left before I'd have to go out to meet Riza, so I decided to make some lunch. Afterwards, I resumed reading my book about the continuous adventures of Sheridan and her exploits in destroying cultural artifacts. Unsurprisingly, it came to a happy end when the evil organization stopped in its tracks, at least for now. I thought the ending was deliberately left open for ambiguity, but when I turned the page and saw the advertisements for the next entry in this apparently long-running series of books, I realized all this had just been a ploy to set up the inevitable sequel. Luckily, the disappointment didn't last as long as I had to get going to meet Riza at the portal. When I got outside, it didn't seem quite as dark as it was when I arrived yesterday. I might have had difficulties finding my way otherwise, but I could still see the portal in the distance. As I was walking, I wondered if anyone was following me, but the land seemed oddly deserted. Was everyone already asleep? Eventually, I arrived at my destination. Riza was already standing idly by the portal. His fidgeting makes it obvious that he had waited just for me. I was already wondering whether you'd get it at all. What do you expect? What a wonderful night it is. Just look up at the stars. You can see them so clearly here, without all the pollution lingering in the air like back home. Almost as if we were looking right into the face of eternity itself. For so long, humanity thought we'd find aliens out there. Yet after all these years, we find we were still alone in the universe. Turns out we were not looking in the right place. What's going on, Riza? Why'd you call me here at this time? For one, because we're sending the generator home. Right, before I was sent here, they told me they would limit the use of the portal as they couldn't afford to keep it open all the time. In order to keep in contact with us and to enable us to send things over to them, the portal would be open for just a quarter of an hour each day. Sending something back home wasn't really problematic for us, since the high energy expenditure associated with sending bigger objects only affected the sender, not the receiver. However, this also meant that until all businesses were concluded, regardless to our trade of the PDAs and the generators, we were basically stuck here. As for the other, do you know what this place is? You said something about trouble. How much danger are we in, really? More than enough. I'm afraid this whole place will be gone soon, and we better not be here when it happens. What are you talking about? I hoped you'd see it too, but then it took me a while to understand, and I had a head start on you. In any case, while he was speaking, my gaze wandered and fixed on some movement nearby. It was hard to make out anything, but I imagined it might have been the wind blowing through the nearby shrubbery, except for the fact that there was no wind. Riza? This might take a while to explain, but we've got the whole night. Riza, look. He turned around to face whatever I was seeing. He squinted hard before he called out. You, how dare you follow me even here? The disturbance came closer until it became clear that it was Maverick, who had hidden nearby to listen in on our conversation. I knew you were up to no good. What were you talking about? What are you planning here? Some kind of attack? Wait a minute. There's no reason for... Don't try to deny it. I heard you both talking about it in the cafe, and I saw the letter. You think I couldn't smell the lemon on it? Pathetic. You'll have to come with me to the police station now, both of you. Come on, I think you're overreacting. Whoa! Come on, Laugher, let's get out of here. In the dragon's side, I could see the wound where the bullet had penetrated his hide, a trickle of blood staining his dark scales and the earth beneath. Riza used the opportunity to run off in some direction. I wasn't sure which. I frantically scanned my surroundings looking for Riza, though he had already vanished into the darkness. What was I supposed to do? Run away as well? Help Maverick? I was just a diplomat and I had no idea what was happening. Suddenly a dragon whipped around, hitting me in the guts with his thick tail. I was lifted off the ground briefly before I felt the impact of my body hitting the ground hard enough that my vision blurred. A deafening roar battered my ears. Was this his cry for help? I could barely move, but I found it better not to try, as to not startle the wounded dragon more than he already was. Certainly would have ended badly for me if he tried anything. I heard him take a few unsure steps before he lay down on the ground, panting. I'm still watching you, you know. And you better not move, not for your own good. If I have to get up again and come after you in this condition, I can promise I won't be nice. It took a few minutes of listening to his labored breathing before someone arrived. It was two dragons. The first I recognized as Sebastian, the other one I didn't know. I heard Sebastian and Maverick exchange a few words, then the stocky fellow approached me. Hey kid, you alright? Still feeling a little dizzy. I'm Bryce, a police chief in this town. Can you tell me what happened? Riza shot Maverick and ran off. Is that so? His face was stern and seemingly lost in thought as I overheard Sebastian's conversation. Yeah, but you're the flyer on duty. We probably won't find him now. Not here in the darkness at any rate. Well, that's just brilliant. What do you think, Chief? Laugher, can you walk? Yeah, I think so. Alright, Sebastian, take Laugher to the apartment. Get us some help here for Maverick, and then we'll look for Riza. Right on. Come on, Laugher, I'll help you up. I was still shaken by the events I just witnessed when I arrived at the apartment. Not knowing anything better to do, I soon fell into a deep slumber. The next day I woke with many questions lingering in my head. I considered calling someone from the police department to ask about Riza and Maverick, but in the end I decided against doing so, as I was sure they would contact me if they had anything to tell me. I knew it was no use worrying about it for now, so I settled for starting another book. It didn't take very long though before the doorbell rang. Bryce, the chief of police, taken upon himself to escort me today? Oh, it's you again. Are you surprised? No, but I guess it means bad news. Afraid so. How you holding up? Better than yesterday, that's for sure. Let's go for a walk then, shall we? Sure. This time I was taken to a different route than yesterday, and I was quite sure there was more to this than just a walk. I'll just go ahead and guess you didn't find Riza. Yeah, we'd hoped he'd come back on his own by now. Do you have any idea where he might be? Maybe he mentioned some sort of place in particular that holds some meaning to him? No, not really. We didn't get a chance to talk much at all yesterday. Before, there's that too. I have no idea why Riza would have done anything like that. I had the impression that they weren't very fond of each other, but this, how is he, by the way? Well, Maverick's doing fine, but there's still plenty of blame to go around. You're right, they didn't particularly like each other. In his statement, Maverick says he suspected Riza of planning some sort of attack. Do you know anything about that? No, he only told me that something was going to happen, not that he was planning anything. At least, that was the impression I got. He's suspecting you too, by the way. That both of you planned this all from the beginning. No, that wouldn't make sense. Actually, none of this is making any sense. Why would we go through all the lengths of our agreement only to jeopardize it by doing something like this? You even already have our PDAs, and we don't have much to show for it yet. If we had any nefarious plans, this wouldn't have been a very good idea. You have a good point, I believe you, but from our side, we only have Maverick's word on the whole matter. After all, he was the one who spent most of the time with Riza since he arrived here. But even then, he didn't really have any reason to follow you yesterday, and his behavior was completely out of line. I'm just glad he came out fine. If he wasn't on mandatory sick leave, he would be suspended right now. We'll have to wait until this whole thing's over before we decide what to do with him. I can assure you this won't be taken lightly. Yeah, that's funny, but I'm not saying that. Maybe they just both acted in the heat of the moment. Maybe. We still got quite a lot on our hands, though. We have a wounded dragon and a missing human. This could lead to a diplomatic crisis. Maybe Risa will show up soon, and we will get all this behind us. Hope so, too. I really wouldn't want to jeopardize everything over this unfortunate incident. And how about we both keep quiet about this whole thing for now? After all, don't think any of us wants people panicking about this already, right? I merely nodded in agreement. Eventually, we arrived at the police station where the chief took my formal statement in regards to yesterday's events. He asked me about Riza and Maverick, too. Not that I knew much of anything that preceded yesterday's events, or the mysterious catastrophe Riza had mentioned. Afterwards, he thanked me and left to file my statement while I sat by his table, waiting and listening to the ongoings of his small provincial town police department. When he returned, he was approached by someone who seemed to have urgent news. A lot of talking between the two ensued that I couldn't make out from my position. This went on for a bit until Bryce returned to me. Afraid I have some more bad news. Riza has now officially become a murder suspect. Murder? We're headed to the crime scene and hoped you'd come with us. Me, a crime scene? I don't really know much about forensics. It's just that you're the only link to Renzo we have. Consider what he said would happen to us. It's all in our interest that we find him as soon as possible, and if he has anything to do with it, you might be able to help us find him. Your cooperation would certainly be appreciated, and it would be a nice gesture to show us that you're trustworthy in the eyes of those who might think otherwise after what happened yesterday. Will you help us? Yeah. I suppose I really don't have much choice here, but you're right. You've got to find Riza, and if that's what it takes, then I'll do it. Very well, let's go then. On our way to the crime scene, he tried to prepare me for what would come. I had studied biology, so I was familiar with the sight of dead animals, asking myself how similar this would be. I wondered if my reaction would be any different if it wasn't a dragon, but a human corpse I would be seeing. When we arrived, we were met by Sebastian, who gave us an overview of the whole situation. This morning, the victim was found by a delivery flyer for our restaurant. Blood loss from multiple wounds are the likely cause of death. Forensics was already here, so feel free to poke around. A few places in front of us, the unfortunate victim lay on the ground, a few paces in front of us, covered by a sheet that concealed the body, but not the large red stain beneath. We approached while Sebastian went off to deter any curious onlookers. I know it won't be pretty, and I'm sorry for putting you through this, but you know what's at stake here. Just remember what I told you, and you should be fine. All right. Are you ready? Guess so. What do you think? Well, he's definitely dead. Yeah, R.I.P. Let's just say this will be your test and tell me what you can deduce from what you see. Give it your best shot. Investigation. 2 wings, 2 legs, just like the waitress in the cafe, about as big as a human lengthwise, if not slightly taller. The wingspan would certainly look impressive at that size. Well, I don't actually get to do anything. I'm just along from the ride. That's kind of disappointing. These wounds are kind of hard to miss. True, but what are they telling you? They were inflicted with a sharp implement. They are clean cuts, like from a knife or another sharp instrument. It's true, but why does this matter? Could have only been someone with hands? That's right. Only those of us who walk on two legs have the proper dexterity to wield a knife effectively. Most of the dragons would probably just bite instead. Of course, this rules out most of the bigger dragons and flyers. But then Riza still has his... what was it called again? You mean his gun? Yeah, if it was him, why would he kill someone with a knife rather than just use his gun on him? He didn't want to make noise? After all, he ran away from Maverick trying to hide from the police. Something as loud as a gunshot would have evenly given away his position and alerted others in the area. Right, that could be a good reason. By the way, which wound did you think was the lethal one? Neck. I think it was the one on his neck. That's right, if all the blood from it wasn't a giveaway, this is a stab wound, characterized by a rather small footprint, so you can tell it was also the deepest one. And from the location, it's pretty obvious. This must have done tremendous damage. What else do you see? Well, there's a lot of blood. He died here. Also, there would have been a trail we could follow. The splatters also suggest this is where they fought. That's true. Unfortunately, it doesn't help with determining who the perpetrator is. Objection! Excuse me? Sorry, I just always wanted to say that. Go on, please. What about the blood on his muzzle? You tell me. He fought back. Might be the perpetrator's blood. Yes, that's true. I expect forensics already took a sample of it, so it might actually help us determine who the perpetrator is. I think that's about everything. You know what, kid? I'm impressed. Maybe we should have you around more often. You did well on the first investigation. Hey, Chief, do you still need the witness here for anything? Sebastian approached with the dragon who had discovered the body earlier. I recognized her as Adine, the waitress from the cafe. She seemed distraught, which, given the situation, wasn't very surprising. I don't think so. Take her to the department. Get her statement written up, and that should do it. Sure thing. Alright, miss, we're going to have to take you to the department. Of course. When she spotted me, however, her composure brightened visibly. Oh, it's the human. Well, I'm a human. Well, I'd call you by name, but you never actually told it to me. It's Laffer. What are you even doing here? Do you work for the police now? Looks like it. Maybe I should call you officer then. I don't think I'm quite there yet. By the way, I didn't know you also did deliveries. I do a little bit of everything, really. That's nice. I liked my fish yesterday. You didn't have to hide it. I know it's quite an acquired taste. To be fair, I wouldn't have recommended it to someone new like you, but you could always try something different. Here's the number if you don't want to come in, and we'll deliver anything we have to you. Thanks. Sorry, I guess we should get going. Bye. What do we do now? I suppose we'll head off to unless... Oh no. What is it? We've got a violent homicide, and of course nobody from the department tells me. I have to find from a neighbor who wanted to ask me about it. Good thing rumors travel fast, eh? Of course nobody told you. You're on sick leave. Mandatory sick leave, I might add. I'm not here in any official capacity, you see. I'm merely enjoying a curative walk in fresh air and happened to come across you by accident. Likely story. And yes, Ace Attorney reference. Looking forward to the new games coming out in July. I think it's July. Well, what do you want? I don't want anything. I just find it interesting that no one tells me about this, but the prime suspect's buddy can mess around with the investigation. I see how it is. I don't know what you're thinking, but don't jump to conclusions here. I don't need to jump to conclusions. I think the dead body we found says it all. You really have an attitude problem, you know? If you weren't on sick leave, you'd be suspended right now for attacking Laffer yesterday. Do you even have any idea what kind of repercussions this could have on all of us? Me attack Laffer? As far as I can see, I'm the only one who's injured here. Besides, I'm so sorry for apparently being the only one who's doing his damn job. Right, let's all sit idly by while the suspect's on the loose and planning his next move. You know, whatever it was Reza was talking about. He was going to tell me just before you showed up. I don't need to hear you, of all people, belittling me about this. What's your problem? If anything, I want to find him just as much as you do. Don't compare yourself to me. Your words mean nothing. Enough. You shouldn't even be here. So you better go now and get some rest before I have to take disciplinary action. Fine, but when we find him, you'll see I was right. If I have to prove it myself, so be it. Can he even just do his own investigation like that? Well, as long as he doesn't interfere with us, we can't really stop him from doing things on his own free time. I see. I suspect he won't adhere to the standards of performing an unbiased investigation, though. He's already made up his mind. It's clear to me he won't be looking for facts, just for evidence to support his own view in order to prove it to himself, or who knows. He's always been like that, always something to prove. We'll have to be careful. He's looking for a reason soon enough. And to be fair, I might too if I was shot. Yeah, and that's exactly why he wouldn't be on the case even if he wasn't on sick leave. Don't worry, Reza will turn up eventually. Surely hope so. All things considered, I had to admit that it remained a possibility that Maverick was right. But could the Reza I knew really be a murderer? You know what? If you think of something that might be useful in the investigation, or if you need anything, just call me. I will. Well, I think we're done here. Let's go. Bryce led me back to the apartment. I guess there wasn't much for me to do in the meantime. I was spared the more arduous parts of the investigation. Maybe I should have been glad about this. So now I have an afternoon to fill. Curious to see if she'll tell me what happened with the blood. So let's meet with Anna. She told me to meet her here, so she's got to be around somewhere. The production facility has many different wings covering everything from research to processing, in addition to production. It was easy to get lost if you didn't know where you're going. I heard some commotion in the distance, and when I approached, I was surprised to not only see Anna, but Remy as well. They seemed to be in the middle of a heated conversation. I thought it would be inappropriate to approach now, so I remained several paces back, out of their field of vision, but still close enough to be able to make out their words. We have heard the rumors. So you come to me on the basis of rumors? Is that how you operate? What do you want from me? This is not the first time you've been in trouble, you know. They might not be so lenient with you this time. I don't know what you're talking about. Consider this a warning. You should proceed carefully for your own good. If you want to threaten me, at least you could have done was send someone more intimidating. You may be larger than I am, but even I can see that you're just a big coward. You wouldn't dare put your dirty claws on me. I wouldn't. I'm here as a courtesy to you, not to threaten or intimidate. Do with that information whatever you wish. You know we'll be back, and if you find anything, there'll be consequences. Do you think I care? This attitude of yours is not helpful. Neither are you. Well, I said what I came here to say. Good luck. Whatever. Remy turned to leave and started walking in my direction. I ducked behind a pillar, and then when he went past, I wasn't sure if he'd seen me. Either way, he left, and I was safe to approach now. Hey, Anna. Hey, Laffer. Wait, how long have you been there? I'll say I saw everything. Not that it matters much anyway. This is just par for the course for me. I know Remy. What's the problem? Whatever for that guy. He probably wouldn't have been so uptight if it wasn't for that thing with his girlfriend a few years ago. But I don't care about him. It's his superiors that are the problem. They don't like me and the research I'm doing. They cite their traditions and values, claiming that those are what kept us alive for so long. If anything were to change, it would obviously fracture the base this society is built on, cause it to collapse, tear families apart, and allow all hell to break loose. At least if you believe those old-timers who keep repeating these phrases. And all that nonsense because of my research. Valuable research that could save lives, mind you. What kind of research are we talking about? I could show you sometime, but we're here to have fun, right? I thought you wanted to show me since said we were both in biology and all that. Sure, but after doing this all day, you'll have to excuse me for not wanting to talk about it even more. Wasting my time with the guys was just another setback. Not that I don't already have more than enough to work to do, even right now, I'm supposed to be working overtime. How disappointing. Yeah, I'm very sorry we can't accommodate your request right now, Your Highness. Thanks for the blood, by the way. The results aren't in yet, but I'll let you know when they are. Good, I'm just as curious about the results as you are. No, you aren't. I am. I'm way curiouser than you are. Curiouser? Is that even a word? It is, since an author popularized its use for where I came from. Then I am way more curiouser than you are. Not if I am the curiousest. Excuse me for a moment. I must weep for the English language. At this rate, why don't you just say you're the most curiousest? I'm not sure. I'm not a linguist, are you? Not exactly, but I have a way with words. My tongue is quite skilled, so I hear. Some might even say cunning. In any case, if you have to work overtime today, does that mean I should wait for you, or do you want me to come back another time? Neither. I think my break should start about now. I wish I had the ability to make breaks happen at my convenience. It's just one of the perks of being the manager of this facility. So where are we going? I don't know where you're going, but I think I need a coffee or 5. You can take along if you like. It would be my pleasure. We'll see if it'll be mine as well. Hope you brought your own money though, because I'm not sharing. I didn't, but everything I purchased is taken care of by my ambassador status. Nice. Actually, that opens up some very interesting possibilities. It might, but I'd rather not do anything too fishy. I don't want to raise any suspicion, you know. Good point. Well, let's go then. After you, my lady. Yeah, thanks for sticking around, EDH and Ninfrendo. There are other people hanging around by the looks of it, but they haven't said anything in chat. There we are. Finally, I can't wait to get some coffee into my system. Oh, hello, Laffer. Nice to see you again. Hey, who's your companion? Can't you just take my order? I apologize. Let me try that again. Welcome to our establishment. My name's Adine. I'll be your waitress today. What can I bring you to? I'll have a coffee. Thank you. What can I bring the esteemed gentle person on the other side of the table? I'll also take a coffee, please. No problem. I'll be right back. What's her problem? I'm here to order something, not to chit-chat with the employees. I know her. It's fine. If you say so. Here you go. Enjoy. Ah, I totally needed that. So you work in the facility? And your point is? What's your job there? I mean, what do you do exactly? We do all kinds of things. The truth is, we just have all kinds of specialized machinery in there, which is used by many different people for many different purposes. The building is owned and run by the council, who oversees the schedule. That was the vaguest answer I've ever heard. It is quite handy, since you can go from research to testing and even manufacturing all in the same complex. I started out as a researcher in biology, which is still my main job, but I've been there so long and learned the ins and outs of the building so well that eventually I was asked to take over some managerial duties. Sure, it means more work, but it also allows me to run a personal project every once in a while. Does that state your curiosity? I've only seen glimpses, but it already sounds like a fascinating place. I'm not sure I'd go as far as call it fascinating, but it surely gives me a lot of opportunities. Oh, I forgot to ask. What you actually plan to do with the blood and the test results. What is this, an interrogation? I was just asking a question, that's all. Well, that's not the first. Excuse me, princess. Alright, I'll finish my drink quietly then, if that's what you prefer. Sorry, I'm distressed from all the work lately. I'm not getting much respite between my regular work overtime, personal projects, and other disturbances like that Remy sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. What do you usually do during your free time? Having a good work-life balance is very important to know. I love my job, really I do. Actually, I love it so much that even in my free time, I still do things that have to do with biology. As I said, I've got the opportunity to do my own projects sometimes, so that's what I focus on when I get the chance. It would be a shame to pass up an opportunity like this without using it. With the current influx of work, I rarely leave the facility if I'm not eating or sleeping. Even right now, I'm only on a break and have to go back for another shift. Maybe you should do something else for a change. Maybe, but right now it's not really an option. It would help if the council weren't so constantly sending their lackeys to mess with me. So that wasn't the first time? No, I suppose I'm on their watch list or something. Why is that? It's a long story and not one for our first date. So you're saying this is the date? No, I'm saying that even if this was a date, which would be more of whatever this is, it wouldn't be very appropriate. Stories about work aren't very romantic. It's always about work with you. Come on, you're on break. Maybe we should do something to take your mind off of all that for once. Like what? I'm not sure. Do you have any other hobbies? Not really. Hey, waitress? How can I help you? Do you have anything here to entertain our guests? Any games or other distractions? I'm not sure. Let me go check. What exactly are you trying to do? I'm being cute and spontaneous. I'll remember this day, for good or bad, I'm not sure yet. It's more for the kids, but we don't really have anything else. It's fine, thank you. Have fun. Board game, really? I know it's not Nitsky's Textile Merchant, but I suppose it's better than nothing. Textile Merchant? Kixney? It's a game, never mind. Well, I'm not convinced that this will accomplish anything unless your goal is to make me regret this day. It seems to be a trivia game. Do you have good general knowledge? Do we even know what kind of advanced knowledge I have to memorize and work with every day? You bet I have good general knowledge, certainly more than enough to beat a foreigner like you. If you're so confident, we should make a bet. What do you have in mind? Let's say if I win, I'll get to go on a real date with you. No fitting me in during your break, no complaining about everything, and no acting as if you're doing me a favor. Especially because it was you who wanted to meet me in the first place. And if I win, I'll have you come in sometime so I can run more tests on you. Alright. Since it was your idea, it's only fair that I start. How does this work? Seems to be pretty simple. We take turns drawing cards and asking questions until we both asked a number that we agreed on beforehand. Whoever gets the most right wins. How many questions shall it be? How about 5? Let's make it 3. Not sure how long this will be. My break won't be for too long either. Alright, go ahead then. I saw the mischief in her eyes, her stare piercing, paired with the hint of arrogant smirk that exposed her anticipation. She seemed confident that she would win and loved every second of it. Slowly her hand went down to the deck of cards and drew the topmost. Round 1. Who was cited as one of the most important historians? His work spanned over 20 books, credited with mapping out our entire history since the beginning of sentience. I'm afraid that's wrong, I'm sorry. How was I supposed to know something like that? It was your challenge. You dig your own grave, you lie in it. I thought this was had something to do with one of the books I read earlier. Maybe not. Maybe all of them were wrong just to have this happen. I don't remember who the author of that book was. Besides, it's not as if it wasn't clear to me from the beginning that I'd win, so no surprises there. Let's see how you fare with your first question. Bring it. How far can you walk into the woods? Well, the answer is halfway, because then you'd be walking out of the woods. Only until the middle. Anything after that, you're walking out of the woods again. You're right. That's a rather weird question, though. I suppose I read the right kinds of books growing up. I know most of these trick questions. Let's see what the second question has in store for you, shall we? Round 2. Alright, if there are 5 apples, you take away 3. How many do you have? Well, I have 3, because I took them away. I guess you also know your trick questions. Apparently so. Okay, here's your question. Which year was our timeline to begin sentience? 0. The beginning of our timeline marks the event in which we gain sentience. Right again. Have you played this game before? It's a children's game. These questions aren't really a challenge. I'll just go ahead and draw the next card so we can end this. Round 3. An adventurer who values his life has to choose between 3 rooms to cross. Which of the following would be the safest? A room filled with poisonous gas, a room filled with 100 highly trained assassins, a room submerged with water filled with alligators that have not eaten in 8 months. I would say the second one, because you can at least talk your way out of it. Or none of these? I'll say 2. Nope, in fact, all the rooms are equally deadly. Alligators can go up to 2 years or more without food, making room 3 as deadly as the others. The other 2 rooms should not require any explanation. This question is poorly worded. Don't blame me, I didn't make the game. Looks like this is going to be the last question. Let's get it over with already. What's the approximate acceleration speed of a nose-diving flyer? I'll have to think about that one for a minute. I was just kidding. I still could have calculated that. Okay, here's the real question. What's the only substance known to be lighter in its solid form compared to its liquid state? Water. Water. That seems to be correct. Of course it is, duh. Just look at that, I win. Someone had to. This turned out to be more fun than I expected. Of course, the main reason for that is because I won, but still. I get it, you won, you're great, etc. That is true. So when should I come in for the tests? Actually, I'm not sure if I'll get a spot for them in the facility anytime soon, but I'll be sure to let you know. I'm quite sure you will. But you know what? This wasn't so bad after all. Maybe I'll let you have your date. Really? Sure, I mean, you didn't win, but I think you earned it nonetheless. Or maybe I'm just that nice. Okay. Well, it's up to you. Call me if you're interested. I'll let you know. I'm still going to collect my prize, though. I'm sure you'll make sure of that. You bet I will. In any case, I should get going now. My break is just about to end. Bye! Not sure how long this chapter is, but at the end of chapter 1 I'll probably end it. Because this has been now an hour and a half. I'm not sure what I expected out of this encounter, but it certainly wasn't this. After all, proposing a proper date was my way of sticking it to her for being rude. Even though I lost the bet, she didn't seem to mind going on a date with me as long as she got what she wanted. Whether I would follow up on it was up to me, though. More free time. What should I do? Let's order lunch. I remember that Adine had told me that the cafe did deliveries as well, and not having anything else better to do, I figured I should try it out. I made my order with a quick phone call, and it wasn't long before the doorbell rang. Well, that was quick. It just so happened that Adine herself stood in the doorway, dripping wet with damp containers in her grip. Aww. Oh, see you again. I thought we were over this, but at least you don't have to reduce me to my species anymore. I do remember your name, though. It was Laffer, right? That's right. Here's your order. Sorry I got a little wet, but it should still be okay. You're soaked. Why don't you come in? Thanks. I was just about to ask if you could stay... If I could stay for a little while. This was actually my last delivery for the day, and I live on the other side of town. Of course, I couldn't let you fly back when it's this ugly outside. Feel right at home. I better eat this before it gets cold. I sat down at the table and started eating my food while Adine decided to take a seat opposite of myself. Do you like it? Yeah, I ordered something I knew I'd actually like this time. I didn't want to make the same mistake I did earlier today. Do you have something similar where you're from? We do. As a matter of fact, it's almost scary how close it is to what we have back home. Really, maybe we all just share a similar taste. Maybe there's more to it than that. What do you mean? Well, don't you trace your origins back to humans in some way? I know what kind of reputation we have in your culture. That's true. Let me ask you this. Where do you think the portal you found came from? Who built it? Humans did, of course. Exactly. If you believe humans had something to do with an artifact created who knows how many years ago, it wouldn't be a stretch to think that they could have also influenced you in other ways. Even something as simple as this dish? I like that idea. So what do you do when you aren't working in the restaurant? Do you have a family? Well, most of the time I take care of my kids. Oh, nice. How many children do you have? Not really my children, per se. I just take care of them. You're more of a foster parent, then? Not quite. These are orphaned children I'm talking about. I just volunteered to spend some time with them. So I'm really more of a babysitter and teacher all in one. Excuse me. I can't really take them in and care for them 24/7 like a proper parent would. I'd love to, but I work far too much to be a single parent. With the amount of time I spend at the restaurant, I don't think the kids would be any better off, so I just help out whenever I can. That's very nice of you. Thanks. These kids already didn't get a very good hand in life. I just thought that if I could make a small difference with them, it'd be worth it. I see. What about hobbies? Do you have any? Can I ask a question for a change? Sure, go ahead. Well, I don't really know much about you, actually. I'm not sure if there's anyone here who does. What would you like to know? What did you do before you came here? Nothing special. I mean, I have my degrees, but this is the first time I did something that was actually related to them. The work I did previously was just to keep afloat. I know what you mean. I suppose it's my turn again, so tell me about your hobbies. The one I enjoy most is probably flying. Just flying? Well, not just flying. I do aerobatics, or stunt flying. I've been doing that on and off for a couple of years now. You must be the most overqualified delivery flyer in history then. Actually, that might not be so far from the truth. I'm actually hoping to be part of a competition at some time. Awesome, where can I watch that? I suppose that depends on whether you will still be here when it takes place. It's part of a festival we hold in this town every year. Okay, since it's my turn again, well, this might be an unusual question. So when they say it was a human that would be coming here, I kind of expected something a little different. What did you expect? Not sure exactly. They do say it was humans that made us who we are today. You don't seem so different from us, though. I mean, yeah, you look different from us, but you're not really anything like some of the things that have been said about your kind. I could say the same about you. Really? Yeah, we have plenty of myths about dragons. Like what? Dragons are normal creatures. They're often cited as a power, a symbol, and strength, but also one of wisdom, possessing an intellect that has no equal. They are noble creatures, and their depictions enjoy almost a universal appeal. I can get used to that. That would be even nicer if it were all true. To be honest, I don't know if it's such a good idea to generalize like that. Even if it's good things you're saying about us, we're all different, you know, and not all of us are nice. I see. But then we have said many good things about your kind too. Well, no matter what you might think about humans, I can assure you that I am in no way special or supernatural. I disagree with that. Why? You say that you aren't special, but just the fact that you're here with us right now is quite special to me and many others. Just try to see it the other way around. You know, you have a good point. What were you thinking when you first heard about us? I thought it was a joke. Of course, all that changed once I came through the portal. See, having something you've only heard about in stories turns out to be really real. Turns out to be real is quite special. And it's not just the discovery of you dragons. We found a portal to an entirely different world. We still haven't figured that one out. Neither have we. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. By the way, interesting selection of books you have here. Draconic, Desire, Ixamen Sphere. Are these yours? No, they were already here when I moved in. Have you read any of them? I did read Sheridan of the Scepter of Sovereignty. How'd you like it? It was entertaining, but nothing special. Nothing special is a good way to describe the entire series, actually. Oh, you've got Prince and Prayer. You should totally read that one. You think so? Why's that? It's not just an interesting story, but it's based on true events. The author is so right when he says that there's a lot we can learn from what happened back then. I'll check it out when I have the time. Let me know when you do. I'd be interested in hearing what you have to say about it. Alright, since you asked about my family earlier, I'm going to do the same. Is there a Mr. or Mrs. Laffer back home? No, can't say there is. How about a potential Mr. or Mrs. Laffer then? Are you looking to date anyone? I'll say yes. Oh, it's a shame you can't be with... Oh, I guess I misunderstood the question. I meant to say... Crap. Or are you talking... Or are you talking about someone you met here? Yes. Oh my. Would it happen to be someone I know? Yes. Well, who is it? I'm not sure how many questions that was, but I'm sure it's not your turn anymore. Are we still even playing that game? Just having fun. You and me both. You know what? Why don't we make this a little more interesting while we're at it? What do you suggest? Truth or dare? What's that? We continue asking questions, but if one of us doesn't want to answer the question, we have to do something the other person tells us to do. I don't even know what kind of dare I would make you do. It could be something that would make me uncomfortable or something you'd like to see me do. Anything? We'll keep in mind that revenge might be coming quicker than you think, so don't ask for something that you wouldn't do yourself. Got it. So who's first? You asked the last few questions, so it's only fair I start. Alright. What's your most guarded secret? I don't really keep secrets. That's not a real answer, but it's the truth. You know you're not really good at this game. Hey, it's my first time. Don't worry about it. Since it's my turn now, what's your greatest wish? Yes! To be the very best like no one ever was. That's funny. That seems to be a very personal wish. Okay, my turn. What do you think is your biggest physical flaw? Well, I wouldn't really call it a flaw, but if I could change one thing, it'd probably be these stripes on my muzzle. I don't like them very much. I think they're cute. No matter if people like them or not, they always stand out. That's what I don't like. If you knew the world was about to end, what would you do? Enjoy life to the fullest until the last moment. Going out with a bang, huh? Toss between the first and the last. If you could come back to my world now, would you do it? That's a very difficult question, you know. Of course, I'd love to visit, maybe some sort of vacation, but if you're talking about permanently, I'm not sure I could just pack up everything and leave behind just like that. Alright, so from those you met so far here, who's the one you fancy the most? I think I'll take a dare for this one. Oh, finally. What am I going to have you do? Whatever you like. No, honestly, I have no idea. Take your time. Let me think for a minute. Well, looks like it's getting late. Wait, what time is it? Whoops, seems like I've been here longer than I thought. I probably should be going now. Seems like the rain has stopped too. Yeah, that's great. You know, if you want to come over again, you don't have to order anything to do it. If you want me to come over again, you don't have to order anything for me to do it. Here's my private number. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks. Bye. Okay, so that ends chapter 1, so I'll give it a stop here. I'm liking this so far. Really haven't made many decisions other than just the last 2 people I spend time with. So again, if it's like normal dating sims, I'm going to try to focus on those 2 and to see what happens whenever I have an option. But yeah, I do plan on playing this more. I don't know how long the game is. I don't know how many chapters it is. But you know, hopefully the game isn't too long, because the shorter the game, the more it encourages replayability. Because if this ends up being like a 20-hour game, I don't think I want to go through it again to pick a different route. But you know, if it's a 5-hour game, then I might do one more route. You know, as it is, I played for over an hour and a half, and I only got through the prologue in 1 chapter. So, don't know. But I am liking this so far, and I'll be playing more of it. I'll talk about this a little bit on this week's show. Thanks for there's 8 people apparently watching now. A lot of lurkers. So thanks to Ninfrendo, EDH Clan, and K9 Cantina for being around in chat. And thanks to everyone else who hasn't said anything but watched. And I'll talk to you next time. Good night.